104.5 The Team, your home for New York Yankees baseball. We are joined by one of the broadcasters, actually the voice of the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, Scott Kornberg. Now, Scott, what do we know about Glamer Torres?
Well, Glaber Torres is a remarkable talent. I really felt lucky to be able to watch him pretty much every single game this season until obviously now. I mean, super competitive kid. An incredible hitter whose power for a 19-year-old shortstop is the other way. 8 of his 9 home runs this year have gone the other way. And his numbers actually are pretty incredible. He's dominated this league. And the numbers don't really tell the whole story because it's a big pitcher's league. So it probably in a more neutral, friendly league, he probably hit for more power. And so he's really, after a slow start, he's been extraordinary. He plays good defense, and think he could stick as a shortstop. But I've heard the Yankees are going to move to second base. And off the field, he is just an incredibly professional and kind person. Always says hello. His teammates respected him a lot, even though he was younger than everybody, save for one person in the entire league. He was a guy who was a true leader in the clubhouse, and an incredible get for the Yankees.
We've heard that there's some concerns about another Yankee infield prospect, Mateo, having attitude problems. What's Torres like in the clubhouse?
Here's a good story for you that'll tell you what it's like. The Cubs, I think, like nearly every other team in baseball, for the Latin guys, and Torres is from Venezuela, they obviously have them enroll in these English classes so they can learn and pick up English. And Torres is still 19. His English is solid for a 19-year-old guy who didn't know anything until a couple of years ago. But, sometimes things happen in life. So the teacher is running late or the Wi-Fi is not working, and so they can't take their classes, which are online, even with the teacher supervision. And so while his teammates will be like, all right, that's it, I'm going to go back, Labor will say, no, we have to stay. The Cubs had enrolled us in these. We have to wait for the teacher. We got to wait for the Wi-Fi to come back on or whatever it is. And his teammates would listen to him. I mean, he is the kind of guy who, would always come up and say hello, would always say, how are you doing? Give you a little tap on the back, to the point where even though he's the youngest guy in the clubhouse, the teammates would look up to him. And even though he's got a big contract, obviously a pretty talented kid, was one who wasn't flaunting that. I mean, he was just a normal person in the clubhouse where you wouldn't know he had a multi-million-dollar contract, and he was saving all his money. He didn't have any crazy cars, didn't have any crazy wardrobe things, but saving his money so his parents didn't have to work. I mean, that's the kind of guy that he is. He's thinking about other people, a really, really respected kid. And while the question marks there with Mateo, it could work out where Glaber maybe is almost a mentor for Mateo. And so I think that from a baseball perspective, he's immensely talented, an extraordinary player who kind of makes you pinch yourself almost on the field when you watch him play. But from a human perspective and just the way he is personality-wise, I mean, he's just a complete package, just an incredible talent, an incredible person to trade for the Yankees.
Scott Kornberg, the voice of the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, with us on 104.5 The Team, Levack and Wolf. So, Scott, you kind of alluded to this already. There's a bit of a logjam at that middle infield for the Yankees right now. Mateo coming up. Didi's looking like he could be a budding superstar. We already traded, as far as the Yankees, with the Cubs to get Starlin Castro. If you're GM for the day, you've seen this kid play the most of any of us. What do you do? Do you move him? Do you move somebody else? Is he so good that you make that move, or is he a trade piece in the future?
I think you keep him. I think that he has a chance to be one of the best shortstops or middle infielders in baseball. I was talking with our manager about Glaber, and he was saying that the guys like him who are 19 years old just don't hit for power as a middle infielder the other way. And he was saying, can you imagine what he's going to be like in 3 or 4 years when he continues to mature and his body continues to develop? I mean, it's going to be scary. And so I think you got to hold on to him. I know the Yankees are always trying to make the next big move, but if I was Brian Cashman, and I would hold on to Glaber because he just has a very, very unique skill set that brings power and a swing that's perfectly suited for Yankee Stadium because he can hit the ball out the other way. It's interesting. He is a guy who, when he's in the slump, he'll watch video of himself, but also watch video of Miguel Cabrera, and he is so skilled. He can imitate Miguel Cabrera at the plate, and that's kind of how he gets out of slumps. I mean, that's just kind of the talent that they have right now. I watched him play shortstop. A lot of the scouts have questions about whether he could stick at shortstop, and I've read the Yankees are really considering moving him to second base. I think that his error numbers are a little bit higher because he gets to a lot of balls that most shortstops in this league just don't get to. And so scorers, it is minor league baseball, they're not as good as the major league scorers, are almost confused. And when he makes a play look so easy, but in reality it's so difficult, and most guys in the league can't reach that ball or can't make that throw, I mean, he's awarded an error. And so I think it's difficult to judge him based on the error numbers, whereas if you watch him every day, you appreciate he's got great range. He's an outstanding arm. That's his best asset defensively. And that might go to a little bit of a waste at second base, could work at third. But I think he's got a unique skill set, and he's got the personality to be able to handle the New York market. If you think about what the Cubs have done the last few years, every single young star has come up to Wrigley Field and succeeded pretty much right away, whereas even the Mike Trouts of the world struggle in the beginning. The Bryce Harper struggle in the beginning. Cubs haven't had that issue, and a big part of that is because they really preach character and makeup, and they will actually not sign a guy. There's a whole checklist. They will not sign a guy unless he passes their tests from a personality standpoint. Is he going to work hard kind of thing? And is he going to be a good teammate? And Gleyber obviously is that because he was in the Cubs organization, and so that's kind of the guy the Yankees are getting. You know, Chicago is a pretty big market as well. There's a lot of pressure and expectations as well. And so it's not that much different to expect him to be able to handle New York City, where he might be kind of the guy as the face of the rebuild, as a middle infielder, as a swing who might produce a lot more home runs than you'd expect for a middle infielder at Yankee Stadium. And I think that because of that, he's a guy you've got to keep because he can handle the pressure of New York City. And he can handle being a good teammate, and he can handle what it takes to be the shortstop or the second baseman for the New York Yankees.
So we're not going to see him cutting up uniforms like Chris Sale.
You're not going to see him cutting up uniforms. You're not going to see some of the problems with Mateo that's come out. And I'm sure it's just young stuff with Mateo. I can't really speak. I don't work in the Yankees organization, but I mean, he's a model citizen. He's a normal person. You would never know that he is maybe one of the next big things coming up in baseball, just interacting with him every single day.
Scott, can you project when he may be in the big leagues?
I don't know. I mean, that's so tough to say. I've been talking with people in the Cubs organization before he was traded, and they loved him. They were, I think, the people in the minor leagues and player development were, you never want to trade anybody and see somebody go, but I think he's a guy that in Yankee Stadium can maybe hit a middle infielder hit 20 home runs a year, simply because the ballpark is so conducive to his swing, which again is pretty much power the other way, which is so rare for a middle infielder. I don't know if he's a guy who could play a corner outfield spot if he can hit enough out there for power, but I think as a second baseman or a shortstop, maybe a third baseman, I think he could be a really, really good player, an all-star kind of guy. I think a guy that Yankee fans will really enjoy watching play.
We've got Scott Kornberg on the phone. He's the voice of the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. It's 104.5 The Team. Now, Scott, I love these trades because obviously Torres is the crown jewel. He's who you really wanted if you make the deal. But I always like to look at the guys who are also in there, like a Billy McKinney. He played for the Pelicans about a year ago. He had that knee injury. What do you see in him?
Well, he's an interesting guy, and the Cubs. This might be a trade that says they don't believe in him anymore. That knee injury is kind of odd. It was a hairline fracture, and most of the time with bone injuries, you just kind of expect guys to come back after they're healed and be the same kind of player. Like for example, with a hand injury, if someone gets hit by a pitch in the hand, maybe they don't hit for enough power or as much power the rest of the season, but then when they heal up truly in the off season, they're normally back to themselves, and that just hasn't worked out for McKinney. He's still got a great swing, really, really sweet swing. The problem is he has not hit for any power since the knee injury. I think that was a big concern in the Cubs organization. He's slugging .322 this year and has not been able to get out of Double-A after being in Double-A since May of last season. So I think there was a massive concern about that in the Cubs organization to the point where when they traded him, they're like, hey, this guy could be a really, really good starter for us. Maybe not a Chris Bryant superstar, but an outstanding player in his own right. And then things kind of tailed, okay, he's going to be a good starting player. And then now there's the question, like, is he even a starting player in the major leagues? Is he going to be a fourth outfielder because of this knee injury? Now, who knows? It was a hairline fracture that's more of a serious thing, and maybe next year he's going to be okay. That's obviously what the Yankees are betting on. The Cubs are saying they don't believe that by trading him away. Obviously, they hope so. You never root against the guy, but I think that's a big concern with McKinney's development is, is this knee injury, because your power comes from your lower half, really going to affect his career and the ability to hit for a lot of power?
Do you see the Cubs making any more moves?
I think so. I think this move signifies that they're all in. The package they sent to the Yankees, Gleyber Torres is one of the best players in minor league baseball. And again, only 19 years old. It's kind of hard to believe he's 19 years old watching him play. And he's a guy that really could have come up, and maybe when Ben Zobrist was declining in a couple of years, been a starting second baseman at the major league level, if only because Addison Russell is the shortstop. Even a guy like Rashad Crawford is super talented, high-ceiling kid who's extremely raw at this stage. And so they've also traded Dan Vogelbach. So they've traded a lot of their valuable minor league guys. They still have Ian Happ and, to an extent, Wilson Contreras and Jamer Candelario in the system among some younger pitchers. But I think this signifies that I don't know if they'll make a blockbuster per se, like get back at Chapman, but maybe another minor move here or there to get another bullpen piece or a backhand starting pitcher. I don't think it's out of the question, because I think this pretty much signifies that they're trying to win the World Series this year and they want the wait to end.
Scott Kornberg, he's the voice of the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, giving us the lowdown on Torres and McKinney. Scott, we appreciate your time, my friend.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.